Welcome to Get Wed,
a podcast to plan your wedding by.
I'm Katie.
And I'm Kerry.
And we're both here as professional photographers
and brides-to-be to help you plan your big day.
Each week we'll discuss a topic that you'll encounter along your wedding planning journey.
And with the help of fellow industry experts, we'll navigate this crazy wedding world
together.
Welcome back, everyone. So this episode marks the halfway point of season 4, and it's all gone very quickly. But do make sure you come and join in our Facebook group if you want to get even more Get Wed into your life. The link to do it is in the navigation on our website, which you'll find at getwedpodcast.co.uk. This week's topic has been widely asked for on our Facebook group, and I know many of our members are eagerly waiting to hear it. So without further ado, this week I'm going to be talking all about destination weddings. I'm joined by Kerry Saona-O'Brine, who planned her and her husband Andy's wedding in New York while she was living here in the UK. And Kerry was also my bridesmaid on my wedding day, and I got to be a guest when she tied the knot in the Big Apple too. So, Kerry, to get everyone started, would you just like to let our listeners know a bit more about you?
I am Kerry, and I'm a fashion designer, and I have had, as part of that, quite complicated, well, I do quite a lot as part of being a fashion designer. I do lots of event organisations for the business and things like that. So I thought organising my wedding abroad would be a cinch, having organised lots of things before. So maybe it wasn't as easy as I thought. But
so let's start right at the beginning then. So what made you decide to get married in the US and not in the UK?
Well, we could have gone either way. Andy, my husband, is American. So he could have come over to the UK with family, and we could have done it in the UK, or we could have done it in the US, which we chose. But we were also thinking of doing it possibly elsewhere in the world. We did look at other places, so we could have done it anywhere. We thought we didn't want a big wedding, so that was part of the decision, in the sense that doing it somewhere else, you may get less people come to the wedding. So we didn't want something big. So
in whatever case would have happened, you would have had a destination wedding, like either him coming to you or you going there, or
some people as part of the wedding party would have had to go to some destination other than weddings.
So how about you tell us a bit more about the actual wedding then? What is it that you did, and how did it all go?
Okay, so in the end we chose doing the wedding in New York, and my family kind of were quite happy to go there for a holiday, so that helped make that decision. And so to organise it, we thought we didn't want a traditional ceremony, and we didn't want a traditional venue necessarily, and
just to make it all so much harder on yourself.
So don't make it easy. But actually, like in New York, you can't have a marquee, so that kind of really, you could, but it would be super expensive and difficult. Mm-hmm. So that kind of takes that kind of traditional wedding thing out of the equation. And I thought it was going to be easier to find a smaller venue for our reception, because being that it's in the middle of a city, you think that the venues are going to be smaller. So many assumptions. And so we decided in the end to go for a ceremony outside in Central Park, and kind of go maybe a bit cliche, but we kind of really wanted to go outside and have our wedding outside. And then we obviously then had to think about where we wanted to have our reception afterwards. And we tried to find somewhere nearby that wasn't too far from there. That's kind of what we went to plan.
I love the way that you think that your wedding was massively cliche, but I suppose for getting married in New York it is. But for your guests who have never done it,
it's funny, isn't it? Because looking at it from a UK wedding perspective, it's not cliche. Because nobody does that in the UK. But you got married outside, but not many people in the UK can, because of the legalities of it. But we can go into that later down the line. But but if you look at weddings in Manhattan, getting outside is quite often done because it's so easy. So yeah.
Okay, so do you reckon that you save money by planning your wedding abroad?
I'm going to say you can save money by doing it abroad. It just depends. It really is so many different things that go into it, that you could save money if you have, because you're going to have less people attend. So in that sense, that although we paid for everyone's food and drinks on the day, and also the transport from the wedding ceremony to the reception, if they needed it, but some people did walk, but we saved money in that sense that there wasn't so many people. But like overall, I'm not so sure. If you went like for a handful of people, you could easily save money because you know, you're not spending money on like hundreds of people. But I think overall, I don't know, maybe a touch small, maybe a bit. We saved a bit. But you know, you can add in a car if you want a traditional car. You can hire like yellow cabs. If you want a yellow cab on the day, you know, you can spend money on anything, and you can easily spend lots of money in New York. So I just think that it just depends. You can really budget if you want to. But yeah. Me personally, I'm not so sure we saved loads of money, but that wasn't the target. So.
No, exactly. But how many people did you end up with then as on your guest list?
So that was tricky because you start off thinking it's going to be easy to have less people, but then you're like, well, I need to invite this person. Well, I want to invite this person. And if I invite this person, I need to invite all these others. So what happened?
But I suppose from your point of view, in the fact that everyone from your side had to travel, it was a really good indicator of who wanted to be there.
Yeah, so I was kind of a bit cheeky in the sense that I kind of filled people out. So I was like, oh, we're going to get married in New York. That's the plan. So I kind of vocally approached people often first because the people that I wanted to come were people that I was in kind of contact with most of the time. So I could sort of say, you know, Andy and I are going to get married in New York. We'd love you to come. Is there something that you would think, you know, financially it's feasible for you? And if they said, yeah, no, we'd love to, definitely, then I would then give them an invitation.
It's a good way to do it. Because I stupidly decided to make these
folder things for the invite bits to go in. And I spent ages making them. And I was like, I don't want to make hundreds of them for people to just be like, oh, it's not enough budget to go. Really, you know, they want to, but they're not gonna do it. So I just kind of got to the point where I was like, no, I won't do thousands of these invites for, you know, a handful of people to come. But regarding kind of the list, we kind of started with close family that we knew definitely were coming, and then worked out from there, like maybes, people that were possible, and then that kind of worked itself out into about 15 Andy's side, 15 my side, in terms of like the numbers of invitation, the kind of possibly definite. And then you know, we maybe had a little bit less than 15 each side to come, but yeah, it was about 30 overall.
Was that really all there was? I feel like there was a lot more people there than that.
I know. There's lots of loud people.
Okay, and so because you were planning your wedding from the UK, did you kind of do everything yourself, or did you have a wedding planner in the US to make it a bit easier for yourself?
Well, I wish I'd had a wedding planner in the US. That would have been really sensible. Not to say I didn't see any wedding planners come up online when I was looking, but it seemed that they were more directed to a bigger wedding. And as we were doing a small to medium sized kind of wedding, I think it's kind of where we fell, that there was less people kind of targeted to helping that, because I guess there's less money in it. We forged ahead on our own, and it was tricky. I just ended up doing lots of research online, and what did I do? Yeah, so I sifted through loads of blogs and websites or just like party websites where people had listed venues that had sort of enough space that wasn't the main area, that they had a room off the side or like rooftops, party spaces and stuff, because I thought that was going to be more suitable for us in terms of reception space. So I sifted through all of that, spent many hours, and that's why I kind of wished that I had somebody that kind of knew the area, knew what would be suitable, knew the places. That was so time consuming, and I kind of honestly wouldn't recommend anyone else do it like that.
I suppose it's difficult when, although, you know, Andy lives outside of New York and you visit it often before you were married, like before you were living there, you kind of feel like you knew New York, but until you're kind of planning the wedding and trying to figure out where to have a reception, I suppose it's a completely different world, isn't it? It
is a completely different world, and there isn't like a wedding fair for that. You can't narrow it down from that, and I have a personal dislike for wedding fairs anyway, so that might be what to do with the choosing having a wedding in America. But, because we were looking at unusual venues that might not even like have had wedding receptions in before, or even ceremonies, because we still were thinking, well, what if it's bad weather, because our wedding was in October, so we kind of still needed some sort of backup. We kind of spent ages doing that, and I if you can get someone else to help you that's there, that would be amazing. But obviously, you know, if you got married in Jamaica and you were getting married at a resort, it's much easier.
It's all kind of done for you, isn't it?
It's all done for you, so that even if somebody else was looking for a wedding abroad, I would sort of definitely recommend places that maybe already advertised that they do weddings stuff.
Like resorts,
or like, you know, like if you wanted to get married in Italy, there are places I'm sure I've seen online that already have, you know, that they've already had a reception there, and they have the pictures to show it. And whereas we were looking at places that weren't necessarily promoting that highly. They might have done, but they haven't got it on their website, for instance. They might say we do events, but it's like, well, what kind of events? What size is it? And also you want more pictures. Like I never found there was enough pictures for me to really get a visual idea. So in the end, what we had to do was I went to visit Andy in March before the wedding. So the wedding was in October, and I visited in March, and that's when we finalised all the details. And it was ridiculous. It was snowing, and we chose that day to go in. We'd already booked like appointments with different places to go and have a look. And so we trudged around in the snow around Central Park to choose our ceremony venue.
Just like deeply imagining it being fine for the wedding day.
And we're trying to assess it as in like people getting there, so maybe people that couldn't walk very well, or like we didn't want to go deep into Central Park because Central Park's a lot bigger than you realise, and so we had to like think of all those logistics, like people getting there, especially, you know, when you're dressed up, you don't want to necessarily trudge miles to Central Park. So
you're wearing heels.
Yeah, exactly. And I was thinking of myself and that as well. In my wedding dress, I was like, I don't really want that. But so there was that part, and then we went to the appointments at the venues. So by that point we'd shortlisted like a handful of places between us. We'd sort of narrowed it down, and we went to visit them, and that was the best thing we could have done, really, because online places look really good, a bit different, a bit quirky. We thought, Mexican, that would be cool. No, it's just like a dungeon, but looks beautiful in candlelight pictures. So I definitely, if you're going to get married abroad, you need somebody that knows the area, or you're going to have to spend the money to look, or you just got to cross your fingers.
Yeah, hope for the best.
What you can see in the pictures.
So I've got a few questions to ask you now from people who are in our brides group, because like I say, this has been a long awaited episode and everyone's desperate for your advice.
I'll do my best.
So Bridget, who's in our group, asked, she's from the UK, but she's also planning a wedding in the US. But she is American. But she was saying, did you have a second reception in the UK for everyone who couldn't attend the wedding in the US?
Yeah, okay. So we didn't have a reception as such. We had a before we got married, we had a party, which we called an engagement party, versus it being afterwards. I don't know why we chose. I think it's because we wanted to have that outside. I don't know what we were doing. We wanted to have that outside as well. We wanted to have it at home, my mum and dad's home. Sort of that, and have all family and friends that could and couldn't come, both lots. And we kind of wanted to make that a little bit more low key, less organisational stress. But actually, to be honest, that was more stressful than our wedding. Was
it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, really stressful because of the weather. Although the day was really beautiful in September it was tipping down with rain in the morning beforehand. And then we had about an hour to get the marquee up, and it wasn't a proper marquee, so it was like just a
gazebo-y type thing, wasn't it?
Gazebo-y marquee thing, yeah. And then so then we had an hour to do that, and that was really stressful because I had all these fairy lights that I wanted on it, all these different things. So the guys had to do that, and they were just like very slow. And then my sister was doing the food, which was kind of her wedding present for us, and because she's a chef, so that was really nice. But it was, I think it would have been better, like if anyone ever wants to do a wedding reception in their own garden or someone else's garden, I think that's lovely, but just hire people in.
Yeah,
it's
very stressful.
Yeah, you just don't want to do it yourself.
No.
But otherwise, to answer the question simply, yes, we had a party.
And then Annette has asked, were you surprised in the difference in traditions between the UK and US, and what, if anything, stood out?
Okay. So traditions as in like what people wore, or
I guess just the difference between a UK and a US wedding.
Okay, I think there is definitely one major difference is hats.
Yes.
So some of the people that came from the UK wanted to wear hats, which is great, and that's quite a British thing, I think, really. But it's a specific kind of hat. So I have an aunt that's American, and she's fab, and I was like, just so you know, the British people are wearing hats. Some of them don't feel you have to, but I'm just telling you so you don't feel like you're going to miss out. And so I was like, it's quite a specific hat. Sent her a couple of pictures, and but it's a different. In translation, I just don't think it. I don't know. It's just a different. I don't know where you get that kind of hat in America. But anyway, she wore a just very different kind of hat and ended up taking it off because she didn't. I'm guessing she just didn't feel like in the same kind of vibe. But I don't know. I was quite specific in terms of clothing, maybe because I'm into fashion, but I was on my invitation. I don't know whether people interpreted it badly or not, but I was quite specific because I do know that, like, I've seen pictures of American weddings where people just rock up in jeans.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want people in jeans. I'm just going to get all bridezilla and be like, no jeans. So I was very specific in, like, smart dress, cocktail dress, or long dress for women. And so in that sense, I think it is good to be aware of kind of what people might or might not do in terms of what they're used to, and be very specific if you need to be, because you don't want people to. And
I think also because you didn't really have didn't really have a traditional wedding in the American sense either. So I think over there, if you were to have a traditional wedding, you'd have like a huge bridal party. You'd have all your kind of family photos taken before your ceremony. and all that sort of thing, wouldn't you? So
they do their look before, which I know that we're doing here in the UK more now, but there is that kind of look, bridal thing.
First look. Yeah.
Yeah, that thing. And then that started in America, didn't it? So I mean, there are definitely they have big bridal parties, and then lots of grooms parties as well, but I just wasn't having that.
No.
So I could have had, but that would have been most of the parties.
Yeah. Everyone would just be involved in your wedding party. It would have been brilliant.
And but also it would have that was also, I was quite glad I didn't do anything like that, and I was quite glad that I wasn't specific about so Andy had a best man, and I was not specific about them wearing anything the same, which I was quite pleased about, because it would have been another stress to the organisation, and I thought, I'll just let them get on with it. As long as they look smart and nice, it's fine. Doesn't matter. As long as they're there, it's all good.
Yeah. Okay, and then so Amanda's got a great question for us I want to ask you. She asked whether you felt under any pressure to go all out for your guests because they travelled so far to be with you.
A little bit, yeah. I did those gift bag things when people arrived, with like wine. I put wine in them.
just bags of wine.
Just bags of wine and some snacks.
Had a little map in, didn't it, of New York?
Oh yeah, I had the map in, and like a phone charger, the plug thing for the UK to US thing, and what else did I put in there? Time out with things to do.
Yeah.
So I tried to make it kind of venue appropriate, but I kind of wish I hadn't done it in some respects. I was quite pleased I did, but the reason my feelings was that it was a bit too logistical nightmare, because it's all very well in like these weddings where everyone's staying in the same place, and you have it's one hotel, and you can just give it to the hotel people, and where they make the beds they can take the stuff in if necessary. But everyone coming to Manhattan, America, for our wedding chose different places to stay. And so I had somebody in Brooklyn, somebody in the Bronx, somebody, most people were in Manhattan, like the main area, but even then, it's still kind of like, and everyone, also everyone arrived at different times. So that was a nightmare too. So yeah, I'm going to say, just think long and hard about the logistics of it before you do it, because it seems a really good idea at the time. But I maybe wouldn't have done it, sadly.
But from the guest point of view, I would like to point out that turning up at our hotel and having this little gift bag given to us, we were like, "Oh, what's in here?" And then we realised it was from you, not the hotel. We just thought the hotel was like being really generous. We're like, "Oh, it's from Kerry." So we did really appreciate it. It all made sense after a while. I was like, this can't just be from the hotel.
No, all these wines. It must be Kerry. Well, it's good to know from a guest point of view. Obviously,
it's obviously a lot simpler to do if everyone's staying in the same place, though, because you haven't got that stress of, like you said, logistics and trying to sort it out.
So there was this one day that Andy had a backpack on full of these bags, and we walked around Manhattan, dropping them off at places. So yeah, if you've got the time for that, it's all good. But because I was there so just so you know, I didn't just arrive like the day before we got married in New York. Me and my family arrived on the Friday, and then we got married on the Thursday. So there was this whole lead up of days still organising.
This kind of leads me into a really great question, actually, because I think I know what you're going to say. Because somebody, who was it who asked this question? Where am I? Oh, Annette asked the question, what about your guests that expect you to plan their holiday because they're visiting another country?
Sorry, I just touched the microphone. But, oh yeah. There were those people. Okay, so I don't know how I got into doing this, or I don't know what happened that made me say yes to organising things. So not only did I organise the wedding, I decided that it was going to be a really good idea to organise things to do as groups. So people, I mean, I don't think it was necessary, but I think it was. I know why it happened. Because at the party, for the engagement party, there was a lot of people there, and there was discussions about what to do in New York.
There was. I think it was your sister's boyfriend who encouraged it.
Thank you for that. I will go back to him. But yeah, so there was discussions and people wanted to see a sport, and so then that's how the ball got rolling with me organising a thing to do. So I organised ice hockey, and so we ordered loads of tickets. Well, people pay for it themselves, so let me put that out there. So I don't think if you're going to organise stuff that you should be paying for anybody else's stuff, because the wedding day is expensive enough, and if you're paying for that, and then people can pay their own tickets for things. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I did end up doing that, much to it ended up all right in the end.
I think it was a really nice thing to do, although it's added stress on top of planning a wedding. It was nice because it gave everyone a chance to meet people.
Yeah,
it was mainly your side, wasn't it? It wasn't really Andy's side as such, but I think because Russell hadn't even met
there.
Yeah, and Russell hadn't met Andy before. I don't think. Yeah, no, I'd met him at the engagement party. So yeah, like that's our kind of So it was nice to kind of be able to meet and chat to people before the wedding day, and kind of then when we turned up on the wedding day, it was like, oh, hi again, because we kind of know you now. So that was nice. And then we did all arrange to go and see Blair without you because they were playing.
I was asked, but we were just exhausted. And I just couldn't face it. Yeah. So we just went and had dinner, which was nice. So it worked out fine. It was good. I'm glad I did organise it in the end. There were a couple of people in my group of family that did strangely think that I was there to babysit them the week. So that was more stressful than organising the group things, like the group, because I tried to make the group things more like if people wanted to come they could, and if they didn't want to, that's fine, there's no big deal, kind of a bit more casual things.
You just kind of written things like in the itinerary, you'd just kind of written, we'll be here at this time if you want to join us, hadn't you? So it wasn't
now you're telling everyone how control freak
we had this checklist that we had to adhere to.
Yeah, everyone on my control freak. It's like a confession session. So I think there are you have to be ready for the one family member that thinks you're going to be looking after them the whole week, and you're going to be available to like go and see them and hang out with them, and they have to kind of realize at some point that you're there and you're still probably going to be organising your wedding, because my friend that got married in Jamaica, and we went and stayed at the same resort, and even then you're still going to be organising a little bit beforehand, because although you have a wedding planner usually at these places, and you have the people that are going to do the flowers and everything like that, she'd bought loads of stuff that she wanted to decorate the place with. So she still had to go through all of that and what she wanted with these people when she was there. So I'm guessing they already knew what colour flowers she wanted, but like where they were going to have them and like all these different things. So you still got stuff to do a few days before the wedding. So sadly I think some people don't get that.
They just think they're turning up for a little jolly, don't they?
They think they're turning up for like a holiday with you.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, yeah, but I've still got a wedding.
Yeah. And then the few days afterwards, you've just got married. So it's like, oh, I just want to spend some time with my husband.
Well, we kind of, in the end, I stayed longer than everyone else. So that's how we worked around that one. Like my family left about 3 days after the wedding. And everyone kind of like filtered out around that time, and so then Andy and I were then left for like we had about 5 days then afterwards to
Yeah.
ourselves. That was nice.
So just go, bye bye everyone.
Yeah, it was just enough talking to people.
So going back to the actual planning of the day then, how did you choose your suppliers from whilst you were in the UK, and then how did you discuss all the requirements that you had for the day with them?
Okay, so as I said, I did all the research online, and then we narrowed them down, and that was, so we had like a selection of 5, and as I said, we went to visit them. And
did you have any suppliers other than your venue as such? So was there a florist involved?
I didn't think of that. Yeah, of course. I did have my the cake people.
Oh yeah.
And that I found them through actually wedding blogs.
Okay.
So I think other people would use them to make their wedding cake as such, but I decided I didn't want to have a wedding cake specifically. But I did want to have a cake.
Yeah.
And I don't like marzipan and all those, whatever, the icing stuff that you have on there. Marzipan's Christmas cake, isn't it? Yeah. I don't like the icing stuff. So I was against that. So I still wanted to have something a bit special, but I was happy to go with a standard cake. And this company, they make wedding cakes, and then on their website they also have like cakes that you can just go and buy, or you order, and they're different sizes. So I was like, well, I'll just have one of those, and I want some sort of gold on it somehow. So then I just emailed them, and they were really, really good in terms of responsive. Other vendors who don't respond to email, you just don't go with them.
Yeah. And
they're silly for not responding in this day and age as well. Like especially if you've got an email address on your website.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was kind of all done via email.
Right.
The majority of it. So even after going back to the venue for our reception, even after we decided there, I then booked it via email. I did all these things via email afterwards, and said requirements and made all those decisions via email. And they sent the contracts through via email, and I went through and was really specific about all these different things and added stuff in. Even though I added in tablecloths, and then we didn't go for tablecloths in the end, but I was just really like, I want to make sure that all these things are right. And that was all done by email. And the photographer, I found her via wedding blogs for small weddings, elopements. So a lot of things I found for elopements. But on her website, she said that she also does like kind of slightly bigger. So she will customize her pricing. Yeah. To your wedding size, whereas a lot of the photographers seem to be either just elopements or bigger weddings.
Yeah.
Which they probably do the middle, but she was one of the only ones that kind of said it on her website that she would customize the feel that you wanted, you know, the day to what you need. And yeah, everything was done via email with her, because that's the one good thing about New York. Just to promote that a little bit, but so many people have elopements there. Yeah, that the photographers are quite driven to that. So if you need that is really good. And also with the flowers side of things as well, you can just get a bouquet done very easily as having an elopement. And the same with the hair and makeup, actually. So I ended up booking this place in New York, which sadly I don't think they have that place anymore, but they still do things somewhere else. It's like a makeup venue, like a shop. Okay. Do makeovers and stuff. So it's a bit like those places that do, I think, is it called Blow, where they just do like a hairdo. Blow dry. Yeah, they kind of like to do a do in like half. I think they have those in London, and so it's kind of like that for makeup. And they'll do like little classes and stuff, but they also had a bit downstairs, and they had a hairstylist that they did things for events and stuff. So I had her do my hair, and so I had a trial at the beginning of the week when I arrived for the wedding.
Okay. See, I was wondering whether you managed to fit in a hair and makeup trial or not.
Yeah, I did a hair and makeup trial. I did do the makeup trial in March when I was there for that week.
Mm-hmm.
I did, but I could do, if you don't have that facility, you could have done it on that on the Monday when I had my hair trial, and then for the Thursday. So and that was really good. But there were a lot of people in New York driven to doing those things, and they could have gone to your hotel, and other people could come to your hotel. So there are other people that do the kind of moving around the hotels, So, but I chose that place because I wanted other people to come along.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's not really that much difference than if you were planning a wedding here. You're still being as organised in that you're booking like further ahead, like the same sort of distance ahead as that you would in a UK wedding, really, aren't you? It's just you can't physically be there until the week of the wedding. Yeah,
it's just and also I would definitely say look at people's reviews like you would anything else.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of helped me with most of my bookings, and also just if people are responsive and like ask you questions and you're talking to them just via email, I mean, you can get a really good feel for like whether they're going to be useful or helpful. Like you like them just by their responses on email. And you could
always Skype with them as well, couldn't you, to see them face to face and see if you like them.
Definitely. Like I think definitely if you had like a wedding planner, like somebody assisting you, I would definitely say you'd have to Skype with them. To see if you like them, and if especially if you're going to have them on the day as well, helping you. Because I think we could have done with that a little bit on the day, but that would have been helpful. But,
So going back to the dress then, so I've got a couple of questions about the dress.
Sorry. Got a bit sidetracked.
That's all right. So Sharon asked a question which isn't necessarily going to be relevant to you, but you might be able to give us some help with your fashion design background. She has asked, how do you decide what to wear when your wedding's in a country that's like obviously much hotter than the UK? So, if you're having a beach wedding in Jamaica or something, how do you deal with the heat and the dress?
Okay, so I kind of wouldn't go for one of those a big dress.
All the layers.
You'll find they have so many layers, like at least 5 layers of fabric is not going to help with the sweating. And also you're going to find that they're quite tight, and that's probably going to not help like with the breathing. You might feel a bit pain. And also, so on top of the layers, the problem is if you spend less on a dress, you're going to find that they're going to be of like polyester fabrics. Which look fine, there's nothing wrong with that, but like they make you sweat more, whereas if you go for like a silk fabric, which is going to be much more expensive, it's going to be breathable and cool against your skin. And so think about like maybe a satiny fabric in silk, like so a little bit shiny, those kind of silky ones. They're quite nice against your skin in silk. And then also so if you're stepping away from the layers, there's all these new kind of styles that have come out in the last few years, isn't there? Like with boho chic kind of things that kind of just slip on. And I think those would be perfect for that kind of heat, really.
Dresses without boning or corsets.
Oh, yeah, less corsets, less layers, less corsets, just kind of no sleeves, all those kind of things I think would definitely help with the heat. And honestly, no shoes, just maybe those sandal thing, like they're not even like haven't got any soles. Like some people just have like
those things that kind of go around your toes.
And they're doing lots of wedding ones that now.
Oh, they're
I sort of saw them online.
Yeah, I think if you're having a beach wedding, you don't necessarily. I think you need to think about where you're getting married before you go and buy your dress. So rather than being like, I've just got engaged, I'm going to buy a dress, and then be like, but now we're getting married in Jamaica.
Yeah,
I'm going to be very
hot.
It
was definitely an impact on my. It definitely impacted my decision on my dress. There was 2 dresses in the first shop, and I loved both of them equally. One was a giant pink one, and one was a slim fitting kind of 1920s bias cut slinky dress, which is really nice. Didn't get either of them because that was really expensive and that one was too big. But I was like, I really love them, and I could see them both in the situation in my wedding visual. But I was like, I've got to transport this dress from the UK to New York.
Yeah.
And although it's possible, I'm not saying it's not, people do it. You can hire a seat for your chair next to you for your dress, or sometimes if you tell them in advance that you're going to have your wedding dress with you, they'll like the air stewardesses put them in a cupboard.
Oh, okay.
So they hang them in there. But you know, if you just think the logistics of the night, I was like, oh, I can't deal with that. What if something happens to it en route? Like, you know, they're just this big dress, and you've got your luggage as well. It just didn't seem worth it to me. Like, I wasn't in love with it that much. So, so I would say definitely think, as you say, think about your venue before you buy your dress.
And I don't suppose you don't necessarily, if you're having a beach wedding, for example, you don't necessarily have to buy a wedding dress either. Like, you say, go down like the boho routes and like find dress on ASOS or something.
Yeah, ASOS, like Anthropology, like places like that do really unusual things, or like Coast, you know, just on a budget, and even like Monsoon and things like that.
Kind of they're really good. Just test out the layers, even in the mid of winter when you're trying it on. Just remember how hot you're going to be.
Yeah, because I know my dress didn't have much to it really until I added loads of stuff to it, because of course that's what I do. But as it was on its own, when I bought it in the shop, I was still really hot.
Oh, were you?
With the lights. And so if you think, even if you're going to get married abroad somewhere hot, or like indoors, if you know what I mean, like if you're going to get married indoors, then you're going to have all these lights on you, and just remember that you're probably going to be hotter than you think you are. Even though maybe you are in the winter trying it on and you're really cold at that point, just think about it with like lights and like sun. And
also don't check your dress into the hold of the plane. Take it on as your hand luggage.
No, don't do that. No. My dress was in my hand luggage, so I rolled it up in the hand luggage. And which was fine. It came out fine, and like maybe rolled with some tissue if yours is silk, that would be good. But so I put it in there, and then my mum got me all worried. She was like, "Have you got insurance for it?" And I was like, "No."
Oh no.
She was like, "But like the day before I flew." Anyway, so she'd booked this insurance for me, like on top of my normal insurance and holiday insurance on top of that. So she was like, "Well, you need to get one with your dress included." So
that's something I would never have thought of.
No, I didn't think about it. And she was like, "Well, what if you've got it in your hand luggage, and if it's in the cupboard, what if something spills on it, or
someone takes your bag off the plane, like someone else picks it up?"
Exactly. What about all these different things?
There's all these other fears.
I know. So so we got insurance for the dress.
That's a really good tip, because I never knew about getting insurance for your dress when you're travelling. That's brilliant.
Yeah, it's well worth it if you're paranoid.
Yeah.
Or even if you're not paranoid, it's even better.
I think the closer it gets to your wedding, the more paranoid about things you get. So it's natural.
Yeah, I think I was so worried about so many other things that I totally forgot about that bit. But yeah, good job, my mum pointed it out.
I think we've got through most of our questions now, so that's really cool.
Okay.
How about tell us what we should speak about quickly? I realise this interview is going on really, really long, but it's really good stuff. But I want to talk to you about your ceremony. So you had an outdoor ceremony in the US.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about those ceremonies is that it's not the place that's licensed for the legalities.
The legalities are different. So I can't speak for the whole of the US, because I know that different states have different rules, and I don't know if that applies to marriage itself as well. But in New York, you can get married any way you want. I have seen videos of people getting married in the middle of a museum.
Oh, really?
Which I don't think you're allowed to do, like from the museum's point of view. But there was just a couple and the person doing the ceremony, and they just sneakily went into a corner, and because they loved that museum. So that I've seen a video of that happening. So you can get married anywhere in New York. And just a side point, seeing videos online of people doing the ceremonies, the celebrant, or whichever name they call themselves, because in America you'll find that they call themselves all different things. So the person doing the ceremony, look out for videos for them, because we're glad we did that, because there was one person we saw that we read about and we thought she was going to be really good, but then we saw a video of her and we hated her voice.
Oh no.
So it's like a really good tip, that one. So just look out for videos of people that have done it and have doing it, because they all have really different styles as well. There was this one that was a bit crazy. So yeah, so anyway, back to, you can get married anywhere in New York, and it's the person doing the ceremony that is legally
licensed,
the legislation for it. Whereas in the UK, it's the venue.
Yeah.
So, and it's also had to, in the UK, that you have to have a cover over. There has to be the cover.
You have to have a roof in a building with foundations.
There you go. So
it's ridiculous.
Random. So yeah, so that makes it even better to have a wedding in New York. Not that I'm doing the sales pitch, but yeah. So yeah, if you want to have something that's different, in the sense that you don't have to have a roof and a foundation.
Yeah, it can be anywhere.
Yeah, you just there's things that you have to just be careful of, that when you're booking the person, that they are they say that they're legally, they've got the legislation to do it, and they're licensed. Sorry. And then you just have to, some people say that you have to just make sure they bring their certificate when they come, so you can just see it, that they're licensed, because otherwise the wedding doesn't count. And you've gone through all that for nothing. But yeah, so there's different procedures. And also in New York, you only have to give 24 hours. You have to go to the city council clerk 24 hours before you get married. That's for the marriage license. Whereas I know that when we were looking to get married, we were looking at other venues, like so other countries. So like Malta, I think it's like 10 days you have to be in the country before you all get the license. 10 days before, something like that. So that also helped make our decision, because we were like, well, it's much easier just to do it there. So we don't have to take all this time out of our lives beforehand, and then we can get married. So so that was quite helpful.
Yeah. And I suppose all countries are going to have different rules and regulations, especially I suppose some countries you might get married but it might not be a legal marriage in the UK. I think yeah, I mean most places are legal in the, like they're recognised in the UK. So if you got really a random place from, I don't know, the middle of Africa, maybe not, but just generally I think you should be okay, but it's worth just checking out that if it's recognised in the UK, because if you're going to come back to the UK and you need your certificate to be recognised for things when you're going to change your name and stuff, I guess. So I know in New York there's 2 different types of certificates, wedding certificates, and we hadn't really realised that. So we got our wedding certificate back, and we're like, yay. And so then I went to use it for something, can't remember what it was, but it said that in the UK you needed a long certificate. Okay.
That's how it was. Certificate. And so a long certificate has a lot more information on it, so like your parents' names and like all the different, and it has like 4 different sheets. And so then Andy had to run around the different buildings, because he had to go to like 2 different buildings to like get this long certificate thing done. So now we've got 2, one long, one short. But yeah, it's those kind of things that it doesn't matter really for the New York one, but it's like, oh, it's good to know.
Yeah, something you didn't know until you were kind of dealing with it.
Yeah. But I think you'll be all right with most places legally. It's just finding out the kind of like the nitty gritty of like how long you have to be there beforehand. And people manage it. People get married abroad all the time. So wouldn't let that put you off.
No. Are you glad you did it in the US and not the UK?
Yeah, I am glad, because also it means that you can have any kind of ceremony you want as well. That's another advantage. So I don't really know about the UK in terms of this side of things, but like the one thing that seemed to be really nice was that the celebrant would do whatever you wanted, and it's still a legal ceremony. So in the sense that you could have people from two different religions or like backgrounds could come together. So maybe you're a Hindu and maybe you're Christian, and you can have like a mixed ceremony. You can have whatever you want. And I don't really know how that works in the UK, so maybe, tell me if I'm wrong, but like I don't.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
It just seemed to be something really nice that people can do, have whatever they want in their ceremony. I mean, never mind what the family thinks, but like, I think, if you're coming from two very different backgrounds, that's really good.
Yeah, I think in the UK, obviously, if you get married in church, you can have a religious ceremony of whatever religion is practiced in that building. Yeah. But I think if you're having a civil service, with a registrar, they're not allowed to include any religion at all.
Yes,
that's what it is.
And that's why. Oh, sorry. And that's why you can't have the two ceremonies and two religions come together, because obviously, if you want to include both religions, you want to like use words from those religions. So.
Exactly. But I think with a celebrant over here, you can. So a celebrant can put prayers and all sorts of things in if you wanted to.
Is that legal?
It's not legal. So you still have to have, unless you had a celebrant in a licensed venue. But then would you still need I think you still need to have the registry office service. Oh, this is going to a whole other realm.
Yeah, so I think that's the nice thing about New York. It keeps it simple, in the sense that you can do whatever you like in your ceremony, and because it's the person doing the ceremony that's licensed, it doesn't matter what you say, because as long as you're agreeing to marry each other, at the end of the day, it's your ceremony. So that's quite nice.
That's brilliant. Cool. Yeah. Well, I think we've covered everything there. Before you go, though, I think so. We'll probably get more questions about it, so I'll have to add you into our group and you can come in and answer everyone's questions.
Okay.
But I've got 3 little questions which I haven't told you about, but don't panic, because these are like my little quick fire questions that I'm asking all my guests.
Okay.
So my first one for you is, if you change your name, which you did, do you like your new surname?
Yes, but it's not a quick question, Kerry.
Fine, don't worry.
I have a really long name. I have 3 middle names, so I stupidly didn't think about that when I changed to my surname as a double barrel. And so now I have 6 names.
You're so selfish.
I know. And the silly thing is that I'm the only one in our relationship that's changed anything.
Oh, so he just kept Saona?
Yeah, he hasn't changed any documents. He's still Saona on everything. And what did I do? Oh, because of the American visa thing that we went through, I decided to change all my documents, because our wedding certificate said that that's what I was changing my name to. So I changed everything. So yes, I like my name,
but it's a pain.
It has its pitfalls.
Okay, and so this is going to be a really interesting question as well, because of your wedding day. What song did you choose for your first dance, if you had one?
See, we didn't choose the song. We didn't think we were going to have a first dance. We ended up going to a jazz. We wanted to have like an ending, like a dancey, musicy ending, but that wasn't organised until the week of the wedding, that somebody found that venue for us. So we went from the reception venue, and then anyone that wanted to come with us to this jazz bar did. And so we had our first dance to I think it was a trio of jazz musicians, and I have no idea what it was.
I was going to say if you knew what it was, but I can't remember what it was either. That was a really nice way to end the day, though. It felt very sophisticated and very New York.
Yeah. Well, I really wanted to have like a jazz band, and at the wedding, but that was not possible because of the venue that we chose. It was part of a bigger space.
Yeah.
So we weren't allowed to have musicians at the reception.
But it worked out well, because you had a small party, so it wasn't like you were waiting for like a party to happen as such. Do you know, like a normal wedding?
And that's the advantage of it. Because everyone that came to the ceremony was at the reception, and then and also it's not like we had a silent reception, because they had a DJ.
Yeah.
There, and they didn't start until later in our reception, so it was quite nice. So it did progress from eating and chatting and drinking to the DJ coming on later in the night. So it worked out well.
Yeah. And then my last question for you is, can you share some marriage advice to our listeners?
Marriage advice? Oh, God.
You've only really been living with Andy now. How many months?
Yeah, for a short time, for about 4 months. So I guess communication. Yeah.
Just communication.
Just communication, general communication.
Talk to each other.
Like men can't read your mind. It's just general life. It's general life advice. Just men don't read your mind. What's wrong with them? But so just communicating what you want in a clear way without it being kind of naggy.
Yeah. It has to be clear and concise, like the way that I talk to the dog. So if I talk...
That's exactly the same.
If you talk rambly to your dog, like, why didn't you come over here and sit down? Your dog's going to look at you like you're crazy. Whereas if you go, sit down, they'll go, oh, okay.
Yeah, and I have to include the dog's name as well. He's given up now. He was like at my legs for ages doing this. But you have to include his name as well, otherwise he doesn't listen. So maybe it's the same with men.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. And for sharing all your knowledge about getting married abroad. I wish we could go back and do it again.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely more things I can share if anyone needs anything else. So
I'll put you into our Facebook group, and then you can come in, and then if anyone's got any further questions, they can pick your brains about it. It'd be really, really helpful.
Sure.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much.
No problem.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. We really hope that you've enjoyed this episode of Get Wed. Don't forget, you can always subscribe to us on Apple Podcast, and whilst you're there, you may as well leave us a review. You can join us for more wedding chat in our Facebook group if you just can't wait until next week, and you'll find all the links that you need via our website, including show notes for this episode at www.getwedpodcast.co.uk. We'll see you next time. Happy planning!